Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you to Apostolos for inviting us over from a summer of sport in the rain in London to 2 glorious days of sunshine with no sport. Is lovely here in Athens. I just wanted to say we all feel ourselves, well, first of all, we've all got mobile devices, so you've all got access to the World Wide Web, you've all got access to different systems. Many of those systems didn't exist at the time of the Athens Olympic. LinkedIn, Path, Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Besso, Pinterest, all of these little avenues into a bigger world, and a bigger world that sometimes reflects on you. And of course, we're all, I guess, consider ourselves linchpins or important in our own companies, and we're all on top of things, aren't we? We get home, we check our mobile device, we may sit in the car before we get out to the car park into work, and we check them, and sometimes, unfortunately, things like this occur. It's a huge tabloid in the UK. I was a journalist, news editor, and for me, this is the stuff of life. Getting a great picture which ruins somebody's day and slapping it on the front page. And with a great headline as well. Oh, shit. Why not? It's great. And hey, you don't have to buy a newspaper anymore to get this headline. You just have to go on the web. Because a great headline will get repeated onto Google and Twitter and Facebook and every other platform. So it's not you're going to escape that this newspaper sells 2 million copies a day, but it's read by 11 million. It's a 2-fag paper. You buy the paper, somebody buys the paper, you read it in the morning at coffee break, you smoke 2 cigarettes, you put it down for the next person to come along and have their couple of fags, and then read it again. You know, so it's a big circulation newspaper, and it's written really well. 15 words per sentence, nice, short, snappy things, and it ruins your day if you're on the other end. You're in Athens, your ship's in New Zealand, and you've got a problem. You may not even know that your ship's got a problem, but hey, somebody has taken a small boat, and they've gone out into the Bay of Plenty, and you can get this on YouTube, and it's one of the first pictures that turned up, and you can hear this guy saying, whoa, can you just kind of keep me a steady platform while I point my phone towards this amazing picture of all these containers about to fall overboard? And that sometimes is going to be the first time that you, part of your shipping company, is going to be seeing actually what is really happening. Not through the newspapers, not through the mainstream filter, but something on social media. Believe you me, it's going to get to you a lot faster. Because it doesn't have to go through the filter of me as a news editor or that damn lawyer that sits in my newsroom and tells me I can't print it when it's a great story, and he thinks, no, don't publish that. You could get us in a lot of problems. But social media is the Wild West. They're beach bums, right? They've ripped off all of that stuff. They've set light to stuff beside the containers. They've used jemmies to get it in and out. And it's a great story. It's great pictures, and it's moving right across Europe. This was something that occurred in the United Kingdom a couple of years ago, and all of a sudden, TV crews turned up from South Africa. Why South Africa? It's happening on a beach in southern England. That's because the ship's carrying automotive parts for South Africa, and because the factories are now going on short time because they haven't got the automotive parts to put the cars together. So the whole point is that media is so fast and so movable that the pictures make the story. So as a news editor, I'm going to be standing in my room, my newsroom, and I'm going to be screaming at my journalists to say, go out and get that story. And having been a journalist, I know what being screamed at sounds like, and it's not very pleasant. But I know what's happening in the boardroom, I know what's happening in the newsroom, and it's a crisis in that first hour, because nobody knows what the hell's going on, because we haven't got the pictures, we don't know the size and shape of it, but it's kind of coming together because I've got my feeds coming in. The guy in the BBC, he calls it, who runs the newsroom, John Curran, he calls it the picture factory. It's not a news organization, it's not a broadcasting organization, it's a picture factory. And that's what it does. It brings pictures to everybody, and pictures tell 1,000 words. So it's chaos for that 1 to 3. We're trying to find out what the size of the ship was, where it was going, who the crew are, who the master is. looking at John, because, hey, I got a victim in mind. Who the hell cares about the owner? I haven't got any pictures of him. But I tell you what, I'm going to get my news crew out, and I'm going to stake out that company, that office, find somebody in a suit, find anybody in a suit that can talk to me. So it doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to find a witch hunt, and this is where I listened to John very carefully this morning about that witch hunt, because we need a victim. I need a victim. I want to put his picture on the front page. And then is it your company that's going to be under siege, and are you going to be salvaging your ship, or are you going to be salvaging your reputation? Because that's a choice you've got if you haven't got prepared. So this is to me. There's plenty of Anglo-Saxon words that would appear, actually, in this slide if it was true. Because, you know, I'd be using all sorts of very short words to get my journalists moving, to get the story that I want. Because I'm not in the business of looking after your reputation. I'm not actually in the business of looking after the ship or the crew or the master. I want to sell newspapers. I want to sell newspapers to you and you and you, and I want to get it on the web, and I want to get my figures up, and then I get a bonus at the end of the year because that's great. And then my journalists feel good because I've broken a great story, and we can come back to that in a year's time, or 5 years' time, or 10 years' time, the memorial phase, because I get more column inches out of it. So how fast can we get there? The point about social media, hands up who's got a Twitter account. Who's got a Twitter account? Okay, that might, I guess maybe a quarter, maybe less than that. Well, I think maybe in a few years' time we'll all be using those Twitter feeds, because my desk jockeys now, the journalists that I used to work with, are doing a lot more now. And breaking stories for me, my son is in Afghanistan at the moment, and I knew more from him about a big incursion into Camp Bastion, about actually what was going on from the tweets that were going down, as opposed to the official line. I knew much more about it, actually, from a Turkish contractor that was there, because I use Google Chrome, which, of course, automatically translates. It doesn't translate very well, but it still translates, and I get the story. So I'm working late Saturday night. It's not a story I'm that fussed about, except my son's there. So what I'm saying to you is that the streams of media that are coming to all of us, we're all journalists now, is to build up a picture of actually what's going on. So I'm checking YouTube, and then, hey, Skype. Skype's brilliant. I love Skype. So I can talk to people, and I can, if I'm broadcasting, I can get somebody on Skype and to give me an instant picture of what's going on. And I want that customer response. Let's look at Costa Concordia. And the night of that incident, I was watching Twitter really carefully, and the first tweet from the company was 4 hours after the incident. And it was in response to a youngster that had tweeted to the company and said, look, I'm really sorry your ship's rolled over on its side. And the response from the company was, yeah, it's a bad day, really. Thanks for that. There was nothing in there about, I mean, who manages this idiot? There was nothing in there about journalists. And he's got the whole world watching. I mean, you know, how often does a cruise ship roll over on its side just in sight of cameras? And as somebody said earlier, you know, that rock should have probably been there. It's charted since Roman times. So there was nothing in there about saying, hey, journalists, why don't you send all your journalists, which are coming towards us by their plane load at the moment, we're going to be at that hotel, or we're going to be in that place. We're going to have this person ready for you. We're going to have you this line. And hey, it's a microblog, so why don't we give you a statement right now? Nothing. Just, well, thanks for that. So what my journalists are going to do, what anybody's going to be, we're going to be looking for a Facebook page. We're going to be looking for a Facebook page on the incident. Latest pictures, latest lines, latest people. And then, well, let's check Cyrenac. Let's look at Pinterest, see if there's any other ships, dodgy ships, that might have caused a problem. And let's look at the history of that particular fleet. Let's see how bad it was in the past. Did they get detained 5 years ago? That's something else. An oily water separator. We just heard of that. That's a story. It's a story. It's related now. So we move on, and we really move on where social media can really ruin your day, because I guess most people who've got Twitter accounts have got Facebook accounts. I mean, look at the figures. Just extraordinary. You know, hashtags now grow on Twitter and have a life of their own. They spring up organically. There's some fantastic humor on Twitter. The G+, technical people can talk to each other. And YouTube, you know, I mean, it's extraordinary. 2.9 billion hours a month on it, 800 million users in 43 different languages. So your bad day can be duplicated 43 times. Isn't that great? So we're saying to companies, you know, it's exactly the same as you know, preparing for any incident you're going to have on board the ship. But it's back at the DPA has to know, development of a crisis comms response plan. Who is going to be your responder at that time of the morning? Have you trained? Have you exercised? Have you done anything about it to suggest, you know, in another part of the globe, your ship might have a problem? And you've done the documentation in a crisis situation as well. And have you really thought about who is the person? Is your DPA team, your crisis team, have they got what it takes to put a short, pithy statement? And for me as a journalist, all I want is who, why, what, when, and how. I don't need some great novel about where the company came from, how it was formed, who are the directors, who's paid more than, who's the chief. I just want to know who's dealing with this, and who's going to be on Skype, and who's going to be on Twitter, and who can I go to, and who can I send my journalist to? And more importantly, in social media, who is back at base monitoring all this crap that's coming towards you? Because there's an awful lot of stuff, and stories will take off on their own, and there'll be lots of different stories. And then, of course, you've got to think about maybe sometimes your crew. Maybe your crew might be tweeting from on board the ship or, you know, on board at home, and there might be some stuff going into the ether that you might not be very happy about. And, you know, if you're publicly quoted, then watch your share price tank. That's great. So full media watch, hourly updates at least, because, hey, there's no deadlines anymore. So ongoing response, lots of media monitoring. You've got to have constant liaison. And for goodness sake, the guy that's running the incident, don't put him up on camera, because this guy has got a job to do. And if he's going to do the media, that's all he's going to have to do, because there's no time to do anything else. And we've seen that before, where the guy, obviously, in the end, is on Benzedrine, and he's got his tie down here, and he's got a week's growth of beard, and the guy looks a mess, and it looks like a mess. So you're going to have some planning here about who's going to be fronting up for your media response as well. So constantly updating on the social platforms. Really get your media in one place, because you need to manage the news. It's your ship, your problem. And, you know, you've got to think about your future clients, your current clients. The people that are the charter party, the charterers. So you've got to think about your internal audience, your external audience. So having a pool media facility begins to bring back towards you about managing the message. So marshalling and hosting, have you got people there? Have you got good people there that are savvy and can think laterally, are quick thinkers about all sorts of situations that might begin to arise? And on site within 24 hours. They really need to be there very, very quickly. That's it from me. I'm sure there may be some questions later on, but all I'm saying to you right now, here and now, is think about an accident happening, not now, but at 2 o'clock in the morning. Are you ready? Thank you very much.